Councilman Staley and Councilman Segmiller. Yeah, the last minute, something happened with the family. Not bad, something with the family you needed to take care of. So we'll start off with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. I'll offer the prayer, and then I've asked Councilman Turk if he will lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening in our city council meeting. Grateful for the opportunity that we have to discuss the affairs of our city, to try as a council and a mayor to improve the surroundings of our city and improve the living conditions, to do those things that would be beneficial to all in our area. We're grateful to live in this beautiful town, for the citizens that are so dedicated to the things that they do, to their families, to their employment, to their surroundings. Help us to make good decisions this evening, that we may further thy blessing and further thy work here in this part of thy vineyard. Grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy, for the Constitution of the United States. Help us to support it with all that we have. And we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Would everyone please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Turk. We'll move on to item 1, approval of the agenda, but I'd like to, it's okay to move item 8 to right after the consent agenda. That would be
Mayor,
okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda, only moving item 8 up following item 4.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Nice and I.
Truman, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you. Announcements, anything to announce? We could start pre-announcing our Cotton Day celebration, which will be last week of April, and culminates with the Ironman breakfast. The mayor and the council cooking breakfast for everybody as the bicycle. They are coming by again, right, Kevin? Okay. That would be May. That's the first Saturday in May, correct? May 2nd. Yeah, same schedule. Any other things to announce to our general public? If not, then we'll move on to our declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Anything to declare at this time? All right. Move on to our consent agenda. To approve, a consideration to approve the minutes from the city council meetings of 12/16, 14, 1/13, 15, 1/27, 15, 2/10, 15, 2/11, 15, 2/24, 15, and 2/25, 15. And our board audit report. Consideration to approve the board audit report for February. Any discussion on those two items? I'll move ahead to consider a motion then.
I'm just looking at the minutes. I don't see the 225 minutes. I didn't see that in there for some reason.
The 225 minutes.
Oh, never mind. I take it back. I found it. So I'll make a motion that we, if there's no discussion, a motion that we approve the consent agenda, including the minutes and the board audit report.
Thank you, Councilman. Have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Nice and I.
Truman, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to an agreement, consideration to approve an interlocal cooperation agreement to provide support to Washington County in hosting the Ironman 70.3 St. George competition. Kevin Lewis, Director of Sports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to be with you. I think you've seen the agreement. It's pretty much just a renewal of our previous agreement. We had a 5-year agreement with World Triathlon Corporation that ended last year, and we've now moved into a new 5-year agreement to continue with the 70.3. And what it's turned into is now the North American Championship, which means it's one of 4 regional championships in the world. Last year was the U.S. Pro Championship, but they've expanded that to all of North America. So that's I guess, a bonus there. We will have this year already planning to come are the 2 world champions from Kona last year. Sebastian Kinley and Miranda Carfrey will both be here racing, and a really good pro contingency. And so looking really good, but we're just looking to kind of make sure we're all on the same page as we go forward with that event.
Is the route basically the same?
Yeah. This year it is plans are it's almost identical. There are a couple little minor changes because of the new interchange at Red Cliffs Parkway and Bluff Street there. That actually makes it a lot better in that interchange. But everything on this side should remain the same for this year. We do have a new race director this year. Jeff Gardner has gone on to some other pursuits, and so there'll be a new race director. His name is Dave Reed. He's out of Santa Cruz, California, and he's race director for the Tahoe events and the new one in Santa Cruz, and then our event. Any other questions on?
Probably just got one of Jeff Starkey down there. Obviously, I wasn't here 5 years ago when we had the agreement. Is this pretty much the same then? All those exclusivity burdens and requirements?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not even close, and that's why I was confused about when I saw this. I went and pulled up, went and grabbed the stuff that we worked on last time.
Right.
And it's not anywhere near it. I mean,
There's
nothing similar to it in terms of what the first agreement was, and this one, because it's an extension, because it run out, which is what it sounds like.
Uh-huh.
From my perspective, I would just assume just sign an extension of the previous agreement. That would make the most sense, unless there's specific reasons why much of it has been changed.
Yeah, there is a lot of new language in there. Most of that comes from the new agreement with World Triathlon Corporation.
We don't have either.
You didn't get a copy of that? Okay, I've got that. We can easily send copies of that over if you need those. But essentially what the new language is, there's no additional commitment from the cities. It's still the same agreement as before in terms of providing the services that are necessary, with the exception of overtime, which we would pay. Any overtime would come out. That's all identical to last year. The new language that's in there has to do with ambush marketing. They don't want WTC has really stepped up to try and protect their brand from other people coming in and creating side events that then pull away from what their capabilities are there. So there's some language about ambush marketing. There's some additional language in there just to define the race area and the venues, and saying that during, in the course of the week prior to when they're setting up those areas, they need, exclusive access to that. And we can't have another event going on when they're setting up. So those are the, the premise of the new language that's in there is information that came out of the new agreement with WTC. And just wanted to make sure that the cities were aware of those items.
I think that's the language that kind of sent a red flag to me on whether as a city, whether we can be comfortable in making certain we don't have people out with some sort of signs or anything like that. How do we control it? And if people are out there, what's our liability or exposure going to be for that? And I think that's something from a legal perspective
Yeah,
we need to take a look at.
Hey, Kevin, I worked with Patterson, Dave Patterson.
Right.
Last time, and we went through, the process of getting it down where the city council was very comfortable with it. And this one I couldn't even make a comparison showing what the changes were. The changes are pretty significant, and especially without having dates to venue. Specifically, if we're changing, for example, the exclusiveness of the location, the things that come in.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. We're going to have to make sure that, I think, especially last time, we tried to make sure that the chief of police made sure we had the dates and the venue so that he could check to see if that was going to be problematic from his standpoint. I think we anticipated this really was going to be, because this one reason we're doing it, like you had, like it had been continuing.
Right.
That those things that wouldn't necessarily need to be all re-reviewed again, but I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to. We got the dates, those venue locations, our chief of police can go over, make sure that he's, one, gonna have the manpower available, two, make sure that we can actually, make sure that we have, for example, street cleaning going on involved a week prior to it. I mean, there's a lot of expansion of what they've asked. Again, you asked me for it.
Sure.
It's what-
Sure.
It's what they're asking of it. I'm not sure if there was a problem before, so it surprised me a little bit that that the new version is so, very, very controlling and
It's-
specific about it. Maybe they've had problems with places. I'm not sure. I've never heard of anything.
Yeah.
Venues that we've had problems with.
Not at all.
Oh, I don't know why we could. An
Extension
extension.
of the
Extension to it.
existing one. You know, I think from our perspective, we're comfortable with that, with an extension of the previous agreement, because we're not asking for anything else. But what we put in there was language that had gone into their contract that we wanted to make the cities aware of, that language is in there and that we're kind of signing off on that. We can certainly come back and, indicate or, go over a review of.
Some type of, one that I can at least merge them and show the differences.
You want like a red line document?
You
Mhm.
may not even have that original one, but it's from 2008.
I think I do though. And I could, we worked off the original, added the new language from the new WTC contract. So we could provide probably, and I would just get with Washington County attorneys, Eric Patterson. I'm sorry, not Eric Patterson, Eric, why am my mind going blank right now? It's Eric in the county attorney's office. Yeah. Who I've been working with on the interlocals and the agreement with
And I'll be
WTC.
happy to contact him, because what I also noticed was, here's why I wonder if it maybe wasn't taken off the form that we had worked at, because some of just the basic stuff, that the language didn't change, like some of the recitals, some of
Yeah.
the initial stuff, where we had suggested changes, and those changes got placed into the actual signed agreement,
Mhm.
aren't in this one. So it looks
Oh,
like it
they're not.
must not have started out with the last one we signed.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I wondered if
He-
I just had a copy of this one in a Word document. I could do a real quick red line, so you can really see it. Then the city manager can take a look and see what. the
Sure.
differences are. Our chief of police, who is a very vigilant person, if this has something written down, and he's always wanting to make sure that we can cover that and take care of it. And as far as I know, the city was always a great partner. Washington was
Yeah.
always a great partner with this thing.
Yeah,
Very good about
it's
it.
been a great relationship. There's no question about that. We definitely want to continue that. So
We can jump right on that, if I can get that. If you want to just have Eric, and he can just send it to me if you wanted to, I give you my email address. Eric
Sure.
can email me
okay.
the Word version of this, and then if somebody can send us a copy of the agreement you've got.
Yep.
That's with the WTC.
Yes. Yeah. World Triathlon Corporation, their new agreement, and
If they can send that, we can see what the exhibit is.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
so we can see dates and stuff, because I know that, I look back at some of the emails from our city manager, probably in 2008, how long have you been here? 3 weeks? 3 years? No, only been 4 years. He had written down certain things such as he needed to see some dates and stuff, just to make sure we can, make sure we do it. I'm pretty sure we can.
yeah. And I wasn't aware that you didn't have Exhibit A either. I thought that had come with the.
Yeah, it was.
with the interlocal, so.
That'd be great, and then if so, I think Denise, if we could just put, or Karen, we could put it right on for our next city council meeting.
Does
That'd
that
be
give you enough
really
time?
helpful.
That give you enough time?
Yeah, I think we can work with it.
I was gonna say, most of what I saw there, I couldn't see, I mean, I could, being the layperson, you read between the lines and understand, at least from my perspective, what they're trying to achieve with,
Yeah.
with their ambush marketing, saying, look, we don't want people out selling T-shirts in your city. You've got to help us control that to the best of your ability, those types of things.
That's what they're asking for. And they've got about 130 of these. And so this comes more off of a template.
Sure.
And we've been back and forth for a
You
number
can
of
see
months,
that's where
kind of.
some communities may capitalize and say, hey, we've got Ironman coming, let's have a mini Ironman the weekend before.
Yeah.
And they're saying, look, our people are in town, you know, and so I can, at least from what I was reading, I didn't see anything that really gave me any heartburn with what was happening, trying to understand that, but, you know,
Yeah.
the attorneys understand the importance of I's and T's.
That's right.
So we'll put
That's
it back
right.
to their lap.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem doing that, Jeff.
Yeah, it'll make it much easier. Even the indemnification language.
Okay.
looks like as we did it, we negotiated so that the county would indemnify the city if anything went wrong. Now it's been, whatever this, now Washington State will indemnify the county if we do something, or everything we do. So I think something's just maybe got a little crosswire from where they started from, but that'd be great.
Yep. Okay, I will get with Eric. Do you want to give me your email? And
J. Starkey, Starkey, at WashingtonCity.org.
perfect.
Give me yours too, so if I do correspondence with Eric, I'll.
Just copy me on it.
Can you give me yours?
Yeah, Kevin at atozion.com. Kevin at atozion.com.
ATOZion.com?
Yep. Yeah, that's me.
That means A to Zion.
A2 Zion. if you read it out, that's where it comes from.
Because, yeah, again, when does our update come? When is the update?
End of April.
Yeah, it's the week before.
It's a week before, we shifted it, so it didn't enter.
Yep. No.
And I thought, I just was one of my friends. Wait a second, you approve this thing. I'm glad that,
Great.
the sooner the better.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. Okay.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to bounce off of you, if I can take just a minute. I've been approached by WTC about our interest in hosting one time the World Championship 70.3. What they do with that event is rotate it on a different continent each year now. So it was in Quebec, Canada. In 14, it'll be in Austria. In 15, Sunshine Coast of Australia. In 16, and they're looking at potentially hosting it in St. George area in 17. Wanted to get some feedback from Washington City about what that would mean, the impacts, what level of support or whatever we might look at. Here's the deal. We would still host the event in May as the North American Championship that year, and then in September probably
Well, you
host.
have another one.
We'd have
Should
two
have
in
two then.
two in 1 year. It'd just be a one-time event, but an opportunity for us to play host to a world championship with some pretty remarkable exposure that way.
Yeah. We'll open up our community center too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, seriously, they.
About
some
half
them,
of
some of them work out there anyway.
half of the athletes would be international. They would open it up to, there'd be about 3,000 participants. Half of those would be international, which means they'd probably stay 7 to 10 days when they're here.
Better get the hotels.
Yeah. So I'm putting out some, gauge of interest and support there. I think it's important for us to determine really what the impacts are before we get too far down the road, but we're on their short list. That RFP will go out to all of North America races, but they called us specifically and said, you're one of our short list venues because we like what we have there. And we know it's a pro quality race. We've already seen that in the participants that have been there over the last 2 years, that they want this kind of a venue. So I don't know if I can get feedback now on that, or if you want to counsel on that, and then maybe we get back together to kind of discuss what that would mean.
Do they have any estimates on the amount of people that would come into the area?
It would be about 3,000 athletes. They typically bring about 3 to 4 with them. So you'd have about 10 to 12,000 people in town. Half of them, like I say, international folks that would stay about a week to 10 days probably, come and get acclimated and train. The economic impact estimates 12 to 15 million for the area for that event. So and again, it'd be a one-time deal. Then it would move to another continent the next year. So just something to consider. Pretty expensive investment for us, and so I'm pulling together data on what we've spent, what we have contributed. And I'd like to get that too from Washington City, not only what the overtime is, but what do you think it cost the city to do our event now, so that we can kind of gauge what that means in the future and provide, this is what we're offering in value in kind already. And we continue to do that if we go after that event. So.
Good.
What,
Mayor and
That's
council,
exciting.
just from a legal perspective and just to cover our own due diligence, I'm just recommending that you guys probably should attend that Australian event. As part of their due diligence, that they ought to be sending you before you make a decision like that.
there you go.
That's just from my perspective.
There you go.
As long as you will run it, I'll go watch it. How's that sound?
I'm
You
just
don't even
saying,
have
I
to
don't
run
want
it.
us to get sued because you guys didn't know what you're getting into. I think it would pay benefits to St. George, A to Z. And
Is that something that maybe you want to council together on, then we get back together on?
Probably more for the council, but personally, I think it's a great idea. I think it'd be super for our area and super for our community. Solely, I would support that.
Yeah, move on, move up, do it.
Okay. It's definitely, it has the impact on the citizens as well, the road closures, things like that. We understand that. There's financial impact and volunteers twice a year. Those are the kinds of things we're trying to consider, and just be diligent about it before we rush off. And
And that would be when in August, you said?
probably be
September.
early September.
So right
Yeah.
before the marathon.
Yeah, a month before marathon and Huntsman
Senior
Games. And just a couple months after, we have an event in June, or it's
Stack
in
'em up,
May,
which
and then.
We're the city of leisure and games.
Yes,
so
sir.
bring it on.
There you go. There's your new slogan right there.
There you go.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah,
We'll
thank-
get that right back to you so that we can get
Okay,
without any complications.
thank you. Appreciate it.
what you might want to do is just table this until the next city council meeting, at least
Okay.
consideration of the agreement. Then we'll get an updated report back to you, and then I'll work with Kevin and Eric to get something either closer or that we can give some specific recommendations on.
And the next city council meeting is
On the 5th of April.
5th of April,
25th.
25th of March.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's right. We're about halfway down, aren't we?
So I'll
Yeah,
I'll
That-
make a motion that we table this until our next meeting on March 25th.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Turek, aye.
Truman, I.
Nice night.
Okay, we'll see you on the 25th.
are you open to the race director coming for permits and stuff prior to that point?
Yeah.
The permitting process. Right, okay. So I'll get him rolling on that, and then we'll just get this finalized.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Item 5, special event, consideration to approve a special event for the Autism Walk 2015 at the Highland Park, sponsored by the Southern Utah Autism Support Group, Bonnie Webb.
Good evening. This is Tanya. She's my secretary. So we're wanting to do the autism walk, and we're actually looking to move the date for sometime in October. And listening to him and bringing up the marathon, I'm kind of wondering what date might be better. And we're postponing just because we need more time to advertise.
Well, the marathon is the first weekend in October, so.
Okay. Because we
Then
were
you have senior
wondering-
games about 2 weeks later. I don't know
Okay.
if that would affect your walk.
10th.
It's probably
So it's
right
the
in
second.
between it.
Yeah. So we
So
might be
you might be
okay.
all right.
Okay. So yeah, it won't be April. So October 10th looks okay if we shoot for that date that you guys know of.
We need to have them come back, or can we approve it? till-
Well, I think that you could probably go ahead and approve it because there is a process that they have to go through with the chief and formalizing that and pending, if all that process is okay, I think we could formalize it tonight and pass it as long as it meets the approval of the staff.
Okay.
Chief Keith, you're okay with that then? All
I'm
right.
assuming you're just meeting, you'll stay right there at the park, the walk's right there at the
Right.
park.
Right.
Basically, everything's on site per se.
It's pretty easy. We're not needing any roadblocks or anything. We're trying to keep it short because it's our first walk and first one in Southern Utah, actually. So just trying to see where it goes. So keep it small. So,
I'm just looking on the application. It looks like there's still some items that are needed. I assume those will be obtained, like
Yes.
certificate of insurance and everything.
yes, insurance is pending.
Okay, make a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the special event for October 10th on the condition that the application is finalized and completed with approval from staff for the autism walk up at Highland Park.
Have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Eisen, aye.
Truman, I.
Turek, aye.
Okay, thanks, you
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Move on to item 6, final plat, consideration to approve a final plat for Roadrunner Ridge, Phase 1, located approximately 3500 South Camino Real. Applicant Garrett Bangeter. How are you, Garrett? Good to see you.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, this application for a final plat for the Roadrunner Ridge Phase 1 subdivision. This particular part of the subdivision is proposing the first 11 lots, and the area of coverage is 3.46 acres. At this location, the zoning is residential agricultural 1 acre minimum, or the RA1 zoning designation. They are utilizing the bonus density program. The preliminary plat was approved back in 2013 in October. Staff's reviewed the request proposal, and the proposed final plat conforms to the approved preliminary plat. Planning Commission reviewed the request last week at their March 4th meeting, and they unanimously recommended approval of the final plat for Roadrunner Ridge Phase 1 to the City Council, and of course, based on the findings, subject to the conditions. This is quite a few conditions for a final plat, but I just want to make note that the last 4 have already been taken care of in the week since the Planning Commission reviewed it. So number 7, 8, 9, and 10 have already been addressed. Number 6 has been addressed, but I want to make sure Public Works is okay with the wording, and we can probably have that one eliminated to then be down to the standard 5 that we normally have for a final plat. So with that said, I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that the council might have
Yeah, I
on
guess
Roadrunner Ridge.
I'm just trying to find out what the trade was for the smaller lots. What's the bonus density? What are we getting? Because I noticed most of them are under 10,000 square feet.
Well, they do vary because you're only seeing part of it. And so there's quite a few lots, and there are lots, they vary their lot sizes. They're also doing tree-lined streets. So there is that planter area that'll have trees every 40 feet minimum. They also have some open space, which is this on the side that runs up Camino Real.
Is that just like a retention basin? like
It
all the
will be,
others?
but they can use it, but there'll be some open space, and it'll be landscaped, finished off to bring some, just instead of having walls right next to the street, the parcel. So they'll have that all the way up their whole subdivision. I can't remember all of them, but they ended up with their density that met, and trying to remember what else they might have. But those are just a few, those 3 or 4 right there. They do have varied lot sizes, so it's not all just little.
So we're just looking at all the small lots on this one, and then they'll come back later with the bigger
Well,
ones.
they'll change. I think they vary throughout because a lot of them don't really put them all in one area. They'll kind of scatter them. So they had a breakdown of how many lots were in the R18 to R110 category, and then from the 10 to the 12, and they actually have some 15,000 square foot lots farther to the east in this project. So they do have the varied lot size, and we make sure that it meets that preliminary plat, the same sizing. So.
On the open space, I guess I just look at some of the projects we've approved for the open space where it is the retention basin, and it seems like it turns into a mud hole after a rain. And I don't know if that's really what we want for open space.
No, it's not. They're supposed to be taking care of making sure those are landscaped areas. Even detention ponds really aren't supposed to just be a hole that water goes into and makes a
Well,
sloppy
they're
mess.
holes with rocks, and then you get the mud runoff in it, brings in, it's a mud hole.
It's true, but there is part of for Public Works here, but they're usually, when they do build those, they do go into contract and they're supposed to maintain those as well. Over time, they get inspected. They're supposed to clean those up. If they're, brought in for that particular purpose. So
Okay,
Right.
they're not, I guess I'm just thinking back at the one I see on 3090 all the time in that subdivision. That's big open space, got a lot of weeds, and it's kind of muddy and dirty, and it must be better to have a house sitting on it than the
is
mud
that part of the
hole there.
Brookhaven?
Yeah.
No, okay, I'll go take a look at that and have Lester get on that and see what can be done. I know they're still under construction a lot during that one too, is half the problem with that, because when there is so much undeveloped
Dirt and
part of it, it tends to cause more of the problem than once the houses are in, the water goes through a whole lot more clean, and runs its course the way it's supposed to after development comes in. But I'll grab Lester and we'll run by and see if we can take a look at that. But that is part of the problem. I do know is there's still a lot of undeveloped area. It tends to bring more dirt just because of the natural
Runoff.
drainage and runoff. So as soon as you get houses, it helps clean that up quite a bit.
Any other questions?
So I'll look at.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the final plat for Roadrunner Ridge Phase 1.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Nice night.
Truman, I.
Very guy.
Thank you very much. Item 7, the public hearing and related ordinances / resolutions. Item A, public hearing for consideration to adopt a resolution to open and amend the Washington City 2014-2015 fiscal year budget for the funds of Washington City, Washington, Utah.
Mayor and council, I put together a summary so that I could show, it would be available to any citizens for the public hearing that we were doing tonight here.
We got a lot of interested folks in attendance
I know.
this evening.
You never know.
We've got Maury here. He's
Yeah.
captivated.
So, this is just kind of summarize what we kind of went over last night at the council workshop session. We are making a budget amendment where we'll be changing the total city fund budget from 50,748,423 to 62,077,027. So that change, the bulk of it, as we discussed the other night, is actually related to bond issuance that we did, as well as revenue sources that were coming in to offset costs such as grants and things like that. If we were to actually strip out those debt services and the one-time fundings that come in from specific sources, our overall budget would have been reduced by about $500,000. But because we have these other things, that's what's actually causing the increase to the $11 million. So as we mentioned, we did pay off the sewer bond early, that 1999 sewer bond, which is the increase there in the sewer fund. And then we issued debt for the Municipal Building Authority for the Sullivan Park and the police station. And then we did a refunding of the 2006 general obligation bond for the Coral Canyon Special Service District. So those are the main drivers to this increase that we have here. And then specifically with the general fund increase on that, of that 463,000, only 40,282 is for increased operational expenses that don't have a corresponding revenue source with that. And that kind of gives you a summary of what's included in this budget opening tonight. So other than that, if you have any questions, then I'll.
No questions for Kimberly. This is a public hearing open to the general public. Probably the only one that may want to make a comment would be Maury, but. All right, okay, if not, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to close public hearing.
Thank you. Have a second.
I'll second it. Thank you. Nice night.
Chairman, I.
Turek, aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to item B, consideration to approve a resolution to open and amend the 2015, it's supposed to be 2014, 2015 fiscal year budget. We changed the typo on that.
No discussion. I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution to open and amend the 2014, 2015 fiscal year.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, just letting the public know that we did have quite a discussion concerning that opening last night in our workshop meeting. And so this isn't just kind of being glazed over. It was talked about and discussed and at quite length last night. So
Thank you, Councilman Turek.
Turek, aye.
Chairman, I.
Nice night.
Okay. That is approved. Item C, public hearing to consider amending the city code by amending portions of Title IX zoning regulations, Chapter 18 signs, Section 20 special standards for commercial signs on Buena Vista Boulevard, Telegraph Road, Washington Parkway, and 300 East, applicant Washington City.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't want to cause any alarm. Home Depot was not moved to Cottontown Village, but it was amazing. I went out and tried to find a sign that met the maximum what we were projecting and what Councilman Truman had the idea to bring in. I hope this helps you out. This sign was exactly the height and the width of the maximum.
360
It's
square
300. Now, I do need to make a little note, that little top where it says, you know, the Cottontown, if you just take off that center right about above the center, this sign's a little bit bigger than that. But if you just were to take a saw and just chop off the cotton mill and in the top, that would be basically it. So I didn't think that was too far off, but it fit pretty well, just to give you an idea what that sign, and that's pretty much, I'm hoping to scale. Is it exact? I won't stand behind that with 100%. It's as close as you can get with pacing and using a cell phone as your captivator, but they sure take a good picture for a cell phone. So, but anyway, here's what the maximum would be. I put it here. Also wanted to, here's what it would look like if they popped it in, put that sign. And I think most of us familiar, this is the Washington Plaza right there at 300 East and Telegraph. Superimpose that same sign there. Of course, stands quite tall.
Yeah, you don't even see anything beyond it.
Yeah. So I hope that kind of helps you in understanding the maximum of what would. Again, this property I don't think would meet the criteria for the acreage, but I just wanted to again bring it for a reference because I don't think this one's 5 acres anyway, so the sign wouldn't get that big at this location. I think it would almost be what is there now. This sign, even though it's grandfathered in, but that's kind of what that middle one we talked about, the 22-foot high, 240 square feet. So they're already, the existing sign that you see every day is the one that, you know, they wouldn't be able to grow anymore. They would find to be in compliance. And I shouldn't say that way. They're in compliance. It's just a non-conforming use at this point here. So, but this one meets that pretty much almost right into that medium sign that we were proposing as well. So I hope that kind of helps you. I think we were just kind of stuck on that overall size. And so I'm just ready for any discussion the council might have. Let me just go back to of course, this one. And just for I think you asked about the basketball hoop. There it is down there. I kind of wanted to get that in there too, since it was referenced last time. That sign itself is just under 400 square feet. And it still meets criteria because you can have 25% of your wall devoted to signage, and they max that out right to almost a square inch.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to find is whatever ordinance we put up, they're going to maximize the signage. What I have heartburn over is I want to see every sign the maximum size up and down the street. That's all I'm going to see is big sign, big sign, big sign, big sign. sign.
Well, again, take into consideration, I understand because I
size,
feel
yeah.
the lot size is going to eliminate, if I'm right, unless people combine lots and then they can, but that would be the fear that we'd have in the long run, but this is the only lot that would ever have a sign that big, just due to their acreage. They go back a block and a half. They're almost a block wide when you put it all in perspective, which, but the fear is, and it's a legitimate fear that someone could combine lots, come in and buy out a whole block, and end up with these on every block down.
So let's look down there at Red Robin in that area. How many signs would they qualify for and what size and that whole thing if they put them on the front?
Well, that's where I put in the code is that they'd only be allowed at each location, one this size, and any other additional signage because we do allow for additional if you have the street frontage. I did put a limit. There would only be one of these per location. The rest of them would be maxed out at 120 square feet if they were to, meet the criteria of X amount of feet, which I could bring up for you if you wanted to see that, but it's all based on street frontage that you're allowed another one, but they have to be separated by 150 feet in length from each additional sign. But that was my fear as well. So I wrote in there, you would only be allowed one of these maximums per location.
So they could have that big one and then every 30 yards or every 50 yards have another sign.
Maxed out at 120 square feet. So basically that's 12 by 10 in size. That's kind of what, I'm not for sure, but the one that goes into Red Robin and Coles, that there's a monument sign right there by the light. That one's probably at 120 square feet. Maybe even not that. I don't think it's a full 10 feet in height. But that's kind of what you might see on additional signs.
Drew, let me ask you a question. It isn't pictured here, but one of the discussions we had when we did the street design, I probably have two questions. One is, how does these larger signs affect this street design that we spent a lot of money on? Does it wash it out? Meaning, street lighting, landscaping, and all that. But second of all, probably more importantly, and this is as you're traveling east, one of the things we talked about is that the landscape signs have the potential of then being under the canopy of those trees that are going to grow up versus this. We have these planter boxes with these trees that are going to be full-grown trees. They were never boxed in. They were meant to create shade, grow full to height, and we had always at least felt comfortable with the landscape or the monument signs, that they would fit under the canopy. Do you see any conflict down the road with these types of signs on these elevations starting to then conflict with these eventual growth of these trees in our landscape?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll use the example when McDonald's came in. I don't know if you remember, but there used to be a lot of trees right there out close to the street on Telegraph. When McDonald's came in, all those trees went away because they'd grown to, they'd been there for a little while out in front of Home Depot. McDonald's came in and all the trees went because you couldn't see the McDonald's or the signage. That was a big thing, and they're still complaining that they don't have enough visibility. So that is going to be a problem. But the alternative to that is to keep them lower, but then they're going to be these, it's like taking this sign and turning it on its side. It's going to be 30 feet wide, by 12 feet high.
But you run into the same, the reason McDonald's did what they did is create visibility, because we said you can't have a tall enough sign to go over the trees. So they said, well, how are we going to get found? We got to get rid of the trees.
You're going to take
So
the trees out. Yeah.
It's you got to decide, do you want the streetscape or do you want big signs, or, and we sit and talk about, we want businesses, we want them to be successful, but then we turn around and say, well, you can't put a sign up. And so, I guess.
So the answer to that is
the answer is we just need to decide what
is it you want
what do we really want?
What do you really want? Because right now, if we're going to increase, and the council wanted, that they were sympathetic tonight when Robbie came in and gave you, and that they are, with all the businesses they have, to be maxed out of what they are, it would be tough. But then we get into these other alternatives of the trees, the growing and maxing out. And
sometimes too, I look at a sign like this, from my personal perspective, I like that bigger sign than something like that, because to me, it's a safer situation. People come down the road that are looking, they're not familiar with the
Seen one sign,
businesses.
yeah.
They look up and say, okay, hey, I know that Petco's in here. I know where to go, rather than they're trying to figure out, do I turn here? Do I not turn here? And they're hitting the brakes and weaving and wilding. And next thing you know, we have an accident take place because somebody's trying to find business. And so when we get enough signage there that says, hey, look, this is what's in here. And to me, it makes it even a safer situation on our roads. Now,
It
it
does.
is a little
and-
obtrusive, I understand that, and we need to be a little careful with size, but,
Should just tell every business, put whatever size sign you want up. Everybody can see it, free for all, or are we gonna keep a city that's?
well, and I think, like I said, I
Nice
think,
and,
no, I think that there needs to be
controlled.
some regulation. At the same token, you can't choke it to death either.
I
mean-
I guess I've seen all kind of successful communities where they have the low monument signs. People know where they're going, and you got an open feel, you enjoy being there, you don't feel like, here I am just in another place, signed to death. You know, and so.
And some of them do that. I look at our population. Number one, our city's population probably isn't going to support a lot of businesses that we have. So we look for outside people to come and find our businesses, whether it be from St. George or it be off the freeway. And the only way they find that's with signs. You know,
Most of them find it with GPS now, they know
Yeah.
exactly where they're going.
Well, that's why I want to come back to this sign right here. This fits the max of that middle one that we were proposing, the 22-foot high, 240 square feet max. So it ends up being about 10 and a half to 11 feet by 20 feet, 22 feet up in that range. And I was breaking this one up, and right now there's basically 6 people being advertised on here, but you could easily make that into 8, if not 10, and still see them very, very visibly. Now, is that going to help Cottontown? Well, it's more than what they have now. Is it as much as they probably could use or need? No, but that's, again, we're trying to keep that without going too in your face, so to speak. Signage is how I kind of approach that sometimes, how signage can get out of hand. So I came back and thought really strong about maybe if we want to eliminate the 30-foot high by 12-foot wide, go back to, this one really made my mind think of how much more, because, and this is kind of deceiving because this is up on the retaining wall a little bit, but, and so the monument would go all the way down to where the car is parked. I wanted to keep that in reference for you as well. So, you could still add another 4 feet down below the karate. And again, you could end up with 10 to 12, I think. Fairly good area, for those businesses, for what that's worth.
Remind me, is this particular ordinance written in such a way, is it across the board, or is it limited in any way on the area that signage ordinance is written? Is it? So
It's based on area.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking the question very well. Would this be an ordinance that would cover the whole city?
No,
What
No.
areas?
this is just what we call our special standards for Telegraph, Buena Vista, Washington Parkway, and 300 East.
Okay,
So it's really those 4 streets, because that's where we wanted to keep everything, because when you get out in front of Albertsons, that you can, the sign ordinance goes up, you can have pole signs. Other areas we do allow,
Well,
but those are our 4 main commercial.
the reason I asked
Well,
that,
I was gonna say, you get on that side and you've got, what, less than a quarter of a mile, and you're out of our city.
And you're out of your city.
Yeah, we got 5 businesses that says we can give you your sign.
Yeah,
That's-
Albertsons already maxed it out, so.
well, the reason I asked the question is because if we ever thought about breaking that up a little bit with regards, and the only reason I say that is because we have all sorts of these kind of visions for this downtown Telegraph area. And I think those are unique from other roads that you just mentioned here. And so, for instance, one of the impressions I've gotten from some of the council is, we don't really even want to see particularly in the center of town, maybe a lot of commercial. It's going to be more of a public gathering type of space. And so my question is, was there any consideration to maybe breaking Telegraph off from, let's say,
300 West,
Yeah.
right at this, well, let me go
right in
back.
those areas there, and making it different for that area? Because I do think that road is different in both what our desire is versus those other roads that you talked about.
So the council could say on Telegraph, from 300 West eastwardly, let everything westward to the west of this. Because again, the two businesses you're really talking about are Cottontown Village, is one we're trying to help because it's so big, and Star Nursery. And then everything actually, the McDonald's then could benefit from this. You know, Cole, all those companies could then benefit from then being able to go up to the bigger, you know, signage plan that allows them maybe some pole signs and allows them to have something like this over there where, you know, again, most of these are grandfathered in. And we didn't think about that. Well, we talked about that, I think. And at least we did in the planning commission of maybe starting at 300 West right there, which is the cross street right at Cottontown Village, and keeping everything to the east and on Buena Vista. And, or do we just
So
want to
your
limit it
east, I
down?
think that your east, the downtown, I agree with concept. But we've got some commercial properties just down on the other side out here that we're.
To the even farther to the east, maybe you might want to.
Certainly someday we hope to develop out of.
So I guess the question I have for the council is, what are we really just wanting to protect Telegraph from 300 to 300 maybe? Or how far east does the council want to go with that? And then we can draw it to that parameter. I mean, it's all based, because this is a special standard area within the sign ordinance. This isn't across the board as Mr. Carter was stating. It is when you get off of those, everything changes to bigger and more possibility. And I think years ago when the council put this together, it's before all of our times, any of us here, I think that they worried about the Telegraph, the Buena Vista, and the Parkway. And they put this special standard limitation on it. So we just change the parameters of the special standard.
Owner that's right to the west of us on a whole block. And that's almost 4 acres there. And if that changes hands, which it's not assured that it's going to be what, in fact, I had a discussion with them today on that, you could end up with this type of a sign right there.
But you'd end up with the one in front of Washington Plaza.
Correct. But
Could
you'd
go
still-
on there.
And that's just, and I just got the impression that with some, that's not what we want to see in the kind of more of the, particularly in the downtown area, that what this area, whatever.
Yeah, and as the existing homeowners age and pass on and the kids sell the properties, and commercial comes in, they combine lots.
That's
then
how
pretty soon
cities
they have all
change, and
these
that's how you
signs.
get rid of the old downtown areas that used to be. Because all of them had it. You know, St. George Boulevard at one time wasn't what it is today. It used to probably have a whole lot more homes on it. Is that right, Mayor? I mean, but eventually it does. It gets bought out, businesses come in, so.
I'm trying to think, on St. George Boulevard, does St. George have a restriction on their signage?
They do, and I've tried looking at it, but I get dizzy. Yeah, I get dizzy.
It's kind of a hunch.
They really limit certain areas,
A lot
I
of it's
think, as well.
grandfathered, you know, and-
Yeah, and they have special districts as well in some of theirs, which I'm fine with. That's the way to
Well, I know
protect
they just
certain
reworked
areas.
theirs a couple, 3 years ago, trying to become more business friendly
Yeah.
because they had choked it down to the point
Yeah.
that they came back and said, oh, we want to. And so I know that here, a couple, 3 years ago, they actually expanded theirs, so.
And they're almost continuously meeting with their,
Massaging it.
and they have that ad hoc committee, that always reviews it and makes determinations on where, I mean, they're constantly working with their sign ordinances for downtown.
I mean, maybe what the council wants to do is just wipe out everything I've kind of done and just change the
Well,
parameter on the streets you're calling to fall into special district.
I like the legwork that you've done here because I think it gives us something to work with. I do think that that we probably, at least personally, I like the idea of protecting the downtown with a block out thing that says, okay, those businesses are out here, more of a business district, benefit from that. Those that are more in our rural, in our downtown metropolitan area, that's more the downtown atmosphere we're trying to achieve
Right.
here. We don't want that type of sign in it, so I'm certainly supportive of that.
Because I think, the idea is keep the park down here, let's keep it open, Christmas time, all of a sudden you got signs all the way along the thing, you're not gonna have downtown Ville lined up, which is something magical in the holidays. You want to strap it around a Home Depot
Yeah,
sign?
no,
run
that's-
it across the
No,
road.
I love the idea of protecting the downtown area and saying, let's keep it to the outskirts and let those businesses that feel like they need those bigger signs be out there, and those that want to come and embrace what we're trying to build our downtown, come downtown.
But I like at least how thoughtful as everyone's been, because again, you don't roll backwards on these things. It's
That's
very
right.
difficult
To take back.
to take back. I mean, it's much easier to tiptoe forward than it is to take back. And again, Councilman Turek is right. I mean, you have to look at impact upon businesses and, evaluate that impact, but you want to be thoughtful about these, because once it's out, getting that cat back in the bag is just almost.
Well, and here's another thought just came to me as I'm considering even Buena Vista now and Washington Parkway. I don't know if we want to limit, because Washington Parkway we know is going to grow. It's going to actually extend across the freeway. It's going to bend through. There's some big, Sitla's got some ideas for some bigger commercial on that north side of the freeway. Are we going to be inhibiting that? And again, ourselves as a business, as a city, for those businesses, if we don't maybe break down Washington Parkway from the Sienna Hills Boulevard, or I can't remember, it's called Sienna Hills Parkway, where the roundabout is, maybe protecting from there down to Telegraph, because again, it's only going to be on the west side of the parkway in that small strip area that we then bring it back down to these monument only. So again, I'm starting to even think in the future, especially when we're starting to get close to some growth up there, maybe we don't want to limit it from the north side of Sienna Hills Parkway and let it go until
Yeah.
we find out where we are on the north side.
I agree with that. I don't see the reason for the limit out there, especially close to the freeway.
Okay.
People want to.
Well, the freeway, there is a freeway section in our sign ordinance that allows, but they've got to be within the 1,500 feet of a on-ramp, off-ramp. So that'll help, because that'll trump this. So I'm not so worried maybe there, but if you're out of that 1,500 feet, on the north side that way, that's where I'm really starting to maybe have a little bit of worry now that I've just thought of heading up that way as well. So,
And I'd personally like to have input from Chris and Thad on all of this.
Well, I know that Councilman Staley this was an important issue for him. It was very important. So I certainly could be supportive of tabling it again, moving it along. But I love what you done here, Drew, because it does give you some perspective of what does it look like. I mean, we can try and envision it all we want, but sometimes when all of a sudden you see the picture, it's like, okay.
that would be the absolute maximum, and it'd be the only place as of right now today that would even happen, on Telegraph. Because of the acreage, there's nothing out there with 5+ acres. So.
Oh, Roger, let's not start that.
No, we don't do that in front of the camera. That's just at the workshop.
So staff's fine with another tabling.
Okay.
It's your ordinance that
Well, we don't have
we've been
any
working
public
on.
here for
Right.
public hearing anyway, so.
I guess I'd like to have you entertain options of carving out what we can consider the true downtown area and keep that with some pretty restrictive monument signs. So we can keep that feel of the tree-lined streets.
Yeah.
That's money into that. Why not?
Preserve
I
it.
like that idea.
Yeah, because when I even head west down Telegraph, I'm even on the east side down there. I don't know if we really want to let things pop back up higher all the way out of town because of your 2 PCDs that you really don't want to get that way when you're going through Coral Canyon, the heart of it. Heading east, actually from this road, from 300 west all the way to Highway 9. I don't know if we would really want to go popping back up high. Right now, I can't see a need for that. And then maybe on that south side, the Parkway, Washington Parkway
You've got your Parkway stuff that's there.
and I want to keep it protected right next to the houses
You've got
next to
a little bit
Sienna
of
Hills.
commercial Right, just down the other side of the dip here, the Nyson parcel that's right now zone commercial that you may.
But it's kind of small. And so that's why I say maybe if we want to help these folks out, even for future at that, we go and we drop the 30-foot high, 360, we adopt, keep maybe the 22-foot high with 3 acres or more, at least 2 stories. That's still giving somebody something. That's what the sign looked like that's in front of Washington Plaza now. And that one doesn't, give me heartburn every time I go by it. It's not a real, I mean, I wish it looked better, and it does, but for size wise, I got to clarify that. But for size wise, it doesn't really burn too bad. But this one, if you get some comments definitely on it. And but if it's out of the strict restriction, then we can't say. So
I think that everyone probably can relate to this. One of my favorite views is just as you come over the rise where the car wash is in the fall, heading east, coming down just before you hit the bridge, seeing the fall leaves on the Nice Park, along with the look of Cottontown Village, that older village, and seeing the bell tower of the old school down in the distance. I think that just is a magnificent view of Washington when you come over that hill.
and it looks nice at night when you come in with all the new little street lights that run down there too. I mean, it's I will tell you, Washington looks really good at night as well. I hope everybody realizes that. From a lot of other, I drive through, where I live, St. George and everything at night. It's a nice city to drive through at night too, just even in the fields everywhere else. I really like that feel that it has and the
Feels
look.
like home, doesn't it?
It feels like home.
Thank you, Drew. So it sounds like do I need to continue with the public hearing?
I think that's what we want to do.
Okay, let's continue with the public hearing.
So we make the motion.
If not, we'll make a motion to close the public hearing and then we can have the motion.
Well, we'll just have the motion to continue.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to consider amending the city code by amending portions of Title IX zoning regulations, Chapter 18 signs, et cetera, to a date certain, which will be
20.
to the April 8th.
Are we just waiting to have the other two councilmen have a chance to be here for?
I think we're discussing it.
Because really, I mean, what I'll do is I'll just bring you maybe some maps of where we may break this back down. I think that's the direction I think I'd really like for the city to go is, from 300 all the way. I mean, we'll just draw out on a map maybe where those areas need to be, and then have that as a discussion. We'll bring back these photos as well, and then I'll draw something on, like I say, street map wise from here to here and from X to Y and from A to B.
So is there any reason we couldn't hold that at our next meeting on the 25th?
I think
Probably wouldn't hurt.
I was going to ask,
Well-
I find this interesting that we don't have necessarily proponents for or opponents against. I can tell you, whatever you decide, you will have some criticism for or against one way or another. And I'm wondering, I mean, if we talked to
well,
the.
Suba's already looked at it and they were okay with it, but
Well,
they're right in the middle of the
Chamber-
parade of homes as
Chamber may
well.
be-
The chamber is who I was thinking of, and even, I'm sure you're gonna, hey, if we did put a sign up like that, you'd get some residents that all of a sudden said, why are we doing that, particularly ones on Telegraph Street? But I guess my question is, I just find it odd that we don't have either the chamber coming out and saying, hey, we're very pro-business, we want to see this, and I've always felt comfortable with our chamber giving us a fair perspective on it too. And I just wondered if at least we want to reach out to at least the chamber and say,
Well, you got to be, because I will tell you this, because if you ask any business owner, they're all going to want the sun, the moon, and the stars. I mean, I'll just tell you without a doubt, you're going to bring in all that conversation, and they're just going to want as far out as they can
Rightly so.
get without, and it is, and I don't blame them. I mean, if I was Joe business owner and had that, and I'd want it all too.
Well, I think of the leadership of our chamber right now, but it could very well be the extent of our chamber. But I think of the leadership of our chamber, and the one thing at least I've been impressed with is they usually try to look just beyond their own interests because they are part of this community. And that's, I guess, the only reason I was confident in saying, should we at least reach out to them and say, here's some of the concerns we're struggling with.
If we're going to go that, then I'd like to go maybe the month give everybody more of a chance to,
Well, it's just a thought.
Chew it
I just-
up.
I just find it interesting
it's-
that either
a
way-
lot won't know about it just because this is the type of a thing we advertise in the paper, but it doesn't go out to every particular property owner because
Well, and I'm going to suggest that this is one you want to make as much effort as possible to let as many people know. Because when the decision goes different than a lot of people want, they're going to wonder how that slipped by. So I'm just saying that this is one that you really do want to try to make an effort to.
Well, maybe, yeah,
Well,
maybe
the-
if we moved it a month, it'd give a chance to get the newsletter. And
well, it's going to take more than a month, I think, because those are so written so far out in
I was
advance.
just trying to think where
We'd
we are.
almost want to be 2 months.
Well, your newsletter, I just got my bill.
Our,
last
our
week.
articles are due Friday.
Yeah,
so
so we
we
usually
could
see
get
them
that
by
for-
about the between the 8th and the 10th of the month. So that might be after our meeting.
So if we're going to do, well, and then even when they go out for the next month, I'd have to talk with when they hit the streets of,
I would think by our first meeting in April would be sufficient time. We can send the word around.
On the 8th.
Is that what it is?
Either the 8th or the 22nd, either one.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you think, Councilman Trim?
No, I think that
Eight to-
works. We want to keep it on track and keep it moving forward. And I think that even if we just had the workshop discussion the night before, would be enough to.
Okay.
workshop on the 7th and then the public hearing on the 8th. I'll second his motion.
A motion and a second.
Nice night.
Trim and I.
Turdick, aye.
Thank you. Oh, do we just scratch item D then?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll scratch item D to,
I'm sorry, Kimberly and I were just discussing agendas earlier before she left. The meeting for April 7th, the workshop, is totally budget information. We only have one little 10-minute presentation. And other than that, I've been asked not to add anything else to the budget. Yeah, excuse me, thank you. To the agenda.
we
We
don't
don't
add
wanna
anything to the
necessarily-
budget. That's definitely true. We don't-
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, we don't have to take the full meeting, but we want to make sure that the council feels comfortable because we'll be presenting at least a tentative budget at that point.
Yeah,
So if you think you can do both, that'll be up to the council. But we just know
yeah.
that we
She
don't
just,
want to
she's
rush
just
that
asked me not to put
particular
anything on it
step. That's probably our
because
biggest
it's
step.
going to be.
But we've given
We
you
could-
lots of pieces of the budget up to this point. This just is a chance now to see it all together.
So we could do it at the end of April.
Why couldn't we discuss it at our next workshop meeting for it then to public hearing on the, there's no
Yeah,
reason we
we
couldn't
could
have it
do
on our
that.
next workop.
Yeah, that's
Let's
fine.
just do that.
I just wanted
Discuss
to
it at our
give you a
next
heads up.
workshop, And then we'll follow up with public hearing. on the
You're
next
okay with that? Okay, I'll put them on.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Can we move on? Do I have to take a vote on that?
I
Okay,
think it's-
you make, I'll entertain a motion then.
It's up to you. You set that agenda, Mayor, so we'll see it when you put it on the agenda.
Okay. Do I need to have a motion to? Okay,
We did that. Yeah, we've done that.
okay, then we're gonna move on to item 9. Yeah,
Do the
I don't need to mention that. I just put it. Okay, move on to item 9, report. Any reports from assigned committees? Okay,
I maybe just report just a little bit that our city branding committee has met a couple of weeks. We're going to meet again tomorrow. Some great ideas, some great people on that committee working, and we have not come up with the exact couple of taglines that we want to bring back to council. We thought maybe we had it, and we came back last week and said, it's not quite what we want. So anyway, hopefully within the next week or two, we'll come to council with a couple of taglines for you to give some feedback to us on. We hope that the brand is something that bleeds throughout, not just our taglines, but the attitudes we have with staff and as a community and recreate, that it's something that everybody can wrap our hearts around and say, this is really who we are, what we stand for. So,
Thank you, Councilman Turk. City manager report.
Just a couple of items I'll just bring up as far as updates on projects. Those of you who travel out in the fields, the 3090 South Trunk Line project, that's the stormwater project, is about 50% completed. So they're moving along pretty well. Another couple of items with stormwater that you're aware of, and you're probably wondering on occasion where they're at. We have the small detention basins along Buena Vista. This was to help deal with the water that you remember sheeted off the open space and then hit Buena Vista and came down Main Street. The design is basically done on that. We're now working on just some underground utility conflicts. So we'll get those resolved too, but that's where we're at on that. We have completed the easement documents for the Turner Turf Farm, and those have actually been presented to the Turner family, and they're kind of mulling over them right now. And so we're continuing our discussion with them on that. We'll be opening the bid on streets. We'll be opening the bid for the traffic signal on 2000 on March 17th. So we are beginning to make some pretty good progress on that. And then a reminder, and Mike's not here, but a reminder because it was mislabeled in the newsletter. I think it was the newsletter. It was mislabeled. But anyway, we have our open house, and this is probably for the council too, for those who want to be here. On March 19th, we have our open house on the downtown curb gutter sidewalk.
That is May.
Yeah, they did it in May. We have several other ways we're notifying the public, so I don't think it'll be a problem. We're going to be putting flyers door to door on the downtown area that are impacted by
We
this.
received the flyers.
Okay, we'll also be using, I can't remember what that's called, Jim, the notification. Using the Everbridge notification system to telephone the downtown area to remind them of that as well. So we're going to move forward then on March 19th here in the council chambers. And as council, certainly feel free
Might
to.
need a sun bowl. We might need to rent a sun bowl.
Well, it's going to be an open house, so hopefully it just flows. And we'll be there to answer questions. We're going to have some signs hung up to show what kind of costs for footage. How we're going to probably structure that is we're going to probably have maps, several maps of the downtown, and probably have similar to what Mr. Ellerman did out in the fields. We'll probably have stickers that if they would like curb and gutter on their property, they can put a sticker on their property, a certain color. If they don't, they can put another color. And then of course, once we get all that feedback, we also have some deferral waivers, which just means that when they came in and built, we allowed them to defer curb and gutter and sidewalk, but at the time the city wants to put in, they could not vote against it. So those are considered yay votes. We would go through that. But the nice thing about the map is what the map may indicate to us too, is let's say the community, the whole downtown community doesn't have an interest in doing it as a downtown community, but let's say there's certain pockets of the downtown. Start to see that with that. And then the council can make a decision, well, because we may have to just chip this off a little at a time over time. And the council may decide, hey, well, this particular 2-block area seemed to have a lot of support for it. So maybe we try to put, of course, our volume costs go up a little bit there, but maybe that's the way we address it. And so we think there'll be some wonderful feedback. We're of course not indicating to the council or to the citizens what they need to do. This is their opportunity to come in and say, this is what's important to us and this is what we're willing to do. And then we'll go from there and bring that back to the council and let the council make whatever decisions they'd like to make. So that again is on March 19th here. We will be, we are putting out a pre-qualification for bidders on the police station, just to make sure we have the right contractor. And those will be out for a couple of weeks, and then we'll have a committee review those. We have Councilman Truman to sit with us on that and review those pre-qualifications of bidders. And then of course, then once they've been pre-qualified, then once we issue the bid documents, they'll bid at that point. And that'll probably go another, couple, 2-3 weeks, whatever. And so we anticipate maybe, mid to late April, we should be able to come to the council with a recommendation for award. Then begin sometime in the month of May. And I've sent out some, I think, updates to all of you with regards to goals and how we're working on those particular projects. And it's been enjoyable working with each of the councilmen, as Councilman Turk mentioned, on the branding committee and customer service and other things. And I think we're making some progress. We're chipping forward on those things. And so it's been good to work with you and get your input on that. So other than that, Mayor.
Any update on the soccer fields?
I think I don't have a date, but I think we're pretty close to going out, being able to advertise. We've got, I think, the documents almost completed, but no, I don't have a. Wonderful. Okay, and I did remember, thank you. I did remember we did a pre-qualification on that. So same process, we'll go through a process of reviewing those submittals, choosing who meets those qualifications, and then it sounds like we're probably prepared at any time then to roll out the bid documents and let the bids begin.
Let the bids begin. Okay. Any other questions for the manager? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Rick, aye.
Truman, aye.
Aye, tonight.
Thank you, and Garth, we just wish all your well and luck on your surgery. Is it this week or next week?
What's that?
It's next week?